Welcome to Michigan, Ron.
Chicken Run?
Yes, it's chicken run time in Michigan Chicken Run. For the next 5 editions, we'll be here in the fine state of Michigan, home of some stuff, no doubt. Any idea? It's always a quiz. What's it? Do you know what this state is known as? You know, they've all got names, right? What's Michigan?
I think it's known as Michigan.
Right. I can look it up. Michigan is the what state?
Oh, the what state? It is the
This is good. This is good.
the Great Lake State.
Ah, that's boring.
Well, it's because it's got the Great Lake named after
No, I know
it.
that, but they're all called like the Iron State or that's just cheating.
So the Great Lake State has its own its motto is, if you seek a pleasant peninsula, look about you.
I've gone off Michigan. I think we'll carry on.
You really don't want to do 10 movies here? Are you sure?
We'll go over to Indiana next. No, because luckily there's quite a rich vein of regional horror into which we will tap. And we'll start right now, Ron, with our first double, Night of the Bloody Transplant and Deathbed, the Bed That Eats. Right, so kick off with, were these both new to your?
Yes.
Okay, I'd not seen this first one before, Night of the Bloody Transplant, from 1970, shot in Flint, Michigan, seemingly in the height of winter. It's very snowy.
Yep. I think Michigan in general is rather snowy. It's kind of Canadian in terms of climate.
Okay, is it that high up? Is it? I'm just looking on the map.
Yeah, it's right at the top. It's high, actually higher than my hometown. It's more northern than my hometown, I believe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's up there like Wisconsin level, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I don't know why I had to look at the map, because of course we are here, of course. As we've mentioned before, this is all just set dressing. We do actually travel from state to state.
Yeah.
Huge budget this show's got to keep us on the road. Directed, produced, don't know who wrote it, but I'm guessing it's probably also David W. Hansen. His only other credit seems to be another kind of sex thriller from the same year called Judy, which I'm quite interested to see, actually, because apparently it wanted to cash in on the Boston Strangler film by shooting everything in the combat zone in Boston. So, which is, I guess, it's their version of, it's their red light district, right? The combat zone, I think. So I found myself a copy of that. I'll be watching that shortly. And so we had to watch this on YouTube in a kind of framed by these horror host guys, right?
And it was, because I watch most of these movies for the show on the go, because I commute a lot. So I'm always watching it on my iPad with headphones on. And so
you have to fly all the way back from
fly back. Yeah, of course. And I'll be watching it, and it's like the bloody transplant, and then suddenly, with any warning, we go, ah! Right? These two guys just screaming in my ears. Oh, so irritating.
I was wondering about that, actually, because I remember you when you were talking Deadbeat at Dawn before I realized you do watch it, and I was watching because the film is very, very quiet, isn't it, on YouTube?
Quiet,
I crank my volume, and when those fuckers come back on, so I scrolled ahead and I checked when they were coming. So
I was like, I had to basically pull them out of my ears as quickly as I could.
Because they do actually do that. It's not just that they speak normally. They do actually go, ah!
Yeah, they're actually screaming, as soon as they come back. So
it's some old man and some young dude. And they do the whole kind of mysteries. To be honest, I didn't watch most of it.
I never watched it.
I watched
I saw them scream. I said, fuck you. And I just scrolled past
they were pretty annoying from what I saw.
Yeah, they were.
it's called something like the basement of Dr. Morbid or Dungeon something. Anyway, if you can watch it without them, I would recommend it. Because the film itself is only like 70. Yeah, it's 71 minutes long. That means the shit that they do, there's 30 minutes of that crap.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, we shall ignore that.
Yeah.
And we'll stick to the good stuff, as it were. So yes.
Right.
So there's a doctor, and he wants to I suppose back 1970, so it's a bit more cutting edge technology we're talking about, right? Heart transplant stuff. And there's a guy, and he wants to do heart transplants, and he has a wealthy client, this old woman who wants to get a fresh heart, and she's threatening to take her funding away if he does, but he can't get the go sign from his stuffy colleagues who thinks what he's doing is maybe potentially I don't know, immoral or something like that, or treading on God's domain. Or it's kind of quaint to think people might have thought that about heart transplants once upon a time.
It was kind of like same dynamic as like the Frankenstein movies, which we just finished watching, all like the Hammer Frankensteins, where it was like he always had his assistant that was always like, no, don't do that, right? And he's like, I know what I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah.
But luckily for him, he has a fucking idiot of a brother who's like this ex-boxer dude and top misogynist who accidentally murders a prostitute. So he brings
accidentally on purpose.
Yes. So he brings her to his brother's house. So they've now got a subject. So, and then I suppose the film's calling card back in 1970 would have been real life heart surgery footage, right? Open heart surgery footage.
Oh.
Yeah, which is less impressive now, but kind of a go highlight, I suppose, back in the day. Quite funny as well, this kind of shapely prostitute that he murders gets on the operative table, and suddenly she's got a man's hairy chest, right? It's quite quite unexpected. Yes, and so and then it's so the weird thing about this film, my takeaway from this.
Oh, there's just one?
Well, it's so right. The actual plot, I think, is fairly simple, right? He does that, and then the brother basically murders another. There's plot convolutions where there's a witness, and he has to murder someone else, and then murders. So it's basically just a series of murders by this crazy brother character, more or less, right? But the film is so slow moving that when a murder occurs, you've totally forgotten the significance of the character, right? So like there's like a woman murdered in the bath, right? And I'm like, who the fuck is she? Like,
who is that? Why was he murdered here?
So I was quite confused. And then there's all this footage of like a strip club and like some terrible
body painting, and there was like a live music, and
and then you even get into the love lives of the detectives on the case, right? Like so it's something that should be quite straightforward and simple is kind of quite confusing because you lose the thread of the story, right? Entirely. So that was kind of I've seen massively boring films before, obviously, and I've seen slow moving films. And I've seen confusing films, but I don't think I've seen a film that was very, very, very simple, but was so slow moving that it ended up confusing me. I think that's the first for me.
Hey, well, good. Congratulations to this movie then.
And I kind of that's all I've got to say about it. I mean, it is kind of a terrible film, but just for that one kind of unique reasoning, I kind of have a slight soft spot for this film now, and you won't believe this, but I might even watch it again one day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Might be
a rewatcher. Yeah, that's for sure.
what's your takeaway of Night of the or the Transplant, actually, as it's known
Yeah.
on screen? Yeah.
I mean, mostly I will echo what you said, but yeah, I mean, I think basically it was either the I don't know how he came across this footage, the open heart surgery footage, but I assume he stumbled across it or was able to get his hands on, and the whole footage is like 30 seconds long or something like that. Like
it's a couple of minutes, maybe.
or
Yeah.
a couple of minutes. Okay,
Yeah.
well, whatever. So he's got this footage and he probably would watch. He was like, wow, it's so cool. Like it's real gore. And then, okay, so now I've got like 2 minutes maybe of like kind of this gory surgery footage. And now I'm just going to make a whole movie based on this 2 minutes of cutting someone's heart open, right? So so that's literally what it was. It's just that they got this footage, and that's the whole thing. The whole thing is predicated on the fact that there's this 2 minutes of real heart surgery footage. I was like, well, so it's I don't know. It was I went in knowing that that's what it was, and I knew that it was obviously built out around this one kind of centerpiece thing. And the fact that that thing, of course, from today's point of view, was quite kind of underwhelming itself.
Yes.
Right. So yeah, so it's sort of like, and and I agree. I had no idea what was happening, who anyone was, why they were doing what they were doing.
But it is quite simple, though, isn't it? Really?
Sure, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, but it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I don't know much I can say about that. It was just, it was just a big mess. Yeah, it was just a mess based on a tiny little bit of footage that they probably just were. Oh, I've got this amazing footage. I got to use it somehow.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't say it was that much of a chore to sit through, though, for me personally. I mean,
yeah. Well, I mean, I also had these like guys screaming in my ear to like further my irritation. So yeah, so that was an extra thing.
Yeah, they were definitely watch it without them. I mean,
definitely watch it without headphones. I recommend don't watch it with earphones on. So
yes. If anything, they managed to make they managed to make it like an even worse viewing experience.
Yeah. I'm sure.
But yeah, I don't know. There's something I don't know. I know there's obviously something wrong with me, but there's something a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a curio from the early days of like pre-splatter film, right? Like it's because it's kind of a kind of a precursor to the gore film way, right? So it's an odd little item. Yeah, I think that's about it, really.
Yeah. That's about it.
Okay.
It is.
We'll move on to something slightly more substantial then. Deathbed, The Bed That Eats, directed, written by George Barry. So this one, so actually the one other thing I want to say about the transplant was I'm not entirely sure if that film ever actually saw inside of a theater at all, or if it only creeped out on video years later. I'm not sure. But certainly Deathbed, The Bed That Eats, I don't think got much theatrical. So it's started shooting in 72, I think, shot between 72 and 75, and then it was finally edited in 1977, and then kind of disappeared until it turned up in the UK on VHS in the very early 80s, which was a similar story to, if you remember when we talked about that film, Last House on Dead End Street, about the guy who made the snuff movie. That had a similar kind of made in the early to mid 70s, didn't get shown much, disappeared, and then turned up bootlegged on VHS in the early 80s in the UK. But I don't think much of anyone saw it until 2003 when it finally came out on DVD. That's when
Although that can't be entirely true, because there was a remake of this movie in 2002.
I don't think that's a remake of this film.
It is.
Did you watch it?
No, but it's actually credited on IMDb as a remake.
Yeah, but that's wrong.
I don't think so, because it has the same like story.
Really? I mean, I haven't seen it either, to be fair. But if I had to guess, I'd guess that's incorrect. The Stuart Gordon movie, right?
No, Danny Draven.
Oh, really?
It's Deathbed as one word instead of two.
Yeah. Huh, that is interesting. That does kind of look a bit like it, doesn't it?
So obviously, whoever this is saw it.
What's Stuart Gordon's involvement then? Because I know he was. All right, he was executive producer on it. That's why. But not directed by. Oh, Joe Estevez is in it, so it's got to be good. I'm kind of. I always assumed it was a totally unrelated film, but I'm gonna have to watch this now because I do have a copy of it, I believe.
Oh, you have a copy of that one, yeah.
And I will get back to you whether it is actually a remake or not.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, regardless, we're talking OG Deathbed, Bed That Eats.
Right.
And yes, this is a shot in around Garwood Mansion, which is on this island in the middle of the Detroit River, apparently. And so this one, well, this is quite the odd plot, really. Do you want to have a run at it, Ron? I'm fed up hearing me talk. Yeah. You give it a go.
Okay. I'll try. Well, it's a bed that eats.
Yeah.
I think I have to say it's well titled. I think that's a pretty good title. Yeah. I told my family, like, when I watched this movie, I was like, oh, so I have to watch this movie because I'm meeting Clive, and they're like, oh, okay, what shitty movie you're watching this time? Because they know that they're almost all there. And I said, oh, this one's called Deathbed, the bed that eats. And they no, really, what's it called? Right. Right. They thought I was joking, but I was like, no, that's really the title. Right. So anyway, yeah. So this movie, is
you
about
invited them to watch it with you. I'm sure.
Yeah, sure, yeah. It's about a bed that eats people and chicken, apparently chicken and other food. And so it's I guess it's you find out as the movie unfolds that it was a demon fell in love with a woman, if I'm wrong, and wanted to have intimate relations with her on a bed,
right.
And then afterwards ended up killing her or something, and then the blood went into I'm not sure I quite followed it.
Yeah.
Something when the blood went into the bed, and then it kind of took his spirit or his.
That's right. Yeah.
Possessed the bed. So the demon is possessing the bed, and so then he's trapped in this kind of random bed in this abandoned sort of old house castle thing in the middle of nowhere that people keep stumbling across. And then whenever they sit or lay in the bed, then they get eaten by the bed.
Yeah. Now, you might think Ron is mistaken here, but no, he's absolutely accurate. That is exactly the story of this film.
And then, of course, you have to also add the fact that it's across the room or next to the bed, depending on the scene, is a painting, which is kind of a painting. It reminded me kind of like a Terry Gilliam drawing or something, right?
Like a Gustave Doré would.
Yeah. And behind this painting is some other person.
Well, he's the painter. He's the
painter, yeah. But he also, I guess, was one of the first ones to sit on the bed or something, and for some reason got eaten. It was not quite clear, but he got eaten, and then he was resurrected behind the painting. So now he's living behind the painting, and he can kind of talk through telepathy with the bed, or he's talking to the bed.
Yes, and we hear his voiceover, right?
His voice. So he acts as sort of the narrator, where he's sort of so that we kind of he does all the exposition.
He's a character called Aubrey Beardsley, and he's played by Dave Marsh, who used to be the editor of Cream magazine back in the day. Yeah.
Okay. And anyway, so he kind of watches it going on. He just sits behind his painting and watches people getting eaten, and as it goes along, the bed eats like a whole town, basically, like the whole town. People go missing, and then the town shows up, and then eats them, and then so it has like a bunch of the newspapers, and that the mayor.
There's the flashback, right? Apparently the bed was in a city at some point or something. And there's all these headlines like thousands disappear,
and the mayor disappears and stuff. no one puts it together that they're disappearing into this bed. And then, so I guess now everyone moves away and then there's nothing near the bed anymore. So it's like, it's been a long time. And so then in the current, I guess the modern timeline or the current, the now timeline of this movie is another group of kind of, I guess, just young teenagers or whatever that are kind of stumbled across it. And one by one, very, very slowly, they also get eaten by the bed, right? So
yeah, and we have this series of flashbacks, like we see with the other people who have been eaten over the ages. Like there's him. There's quite a funny one where with a priest for some reason reading in the book, and he's suddenly like, "Oh!" and then he gets eaten.
Yeah, I quite like the gangster who was like shooting the bed and he was getting eaten.
Yeah. And like confusingly, they went to the trouble of having like a character. There's like a young girl with like a leg brace she removed, then gets eaten by the bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very specific.
And so then there's also like a sort of a subplot where one of the girls that is there, her brother is looking for her, and then he ends up showing up and trying to rescue them, but puts his hand in the bed and then comes out with
skeleton hands.
all his skeleton hands. But he doesn't seem to be put off by this. He just kind of sits there and is like, "Oh, skeleton hands."
Oh no,
yeah. So the movie itself is it's quite artsy, I guess, right? More than you would expect from a movie called Deathbed. You know, I mean,
it's a very weird mix of there's clearly exploitation elements, and like you said, it's arty, but it clearly has some genuine like gags in it. Like at some point, the bed eats some Pepto-Bismol right after he's eaten.
Yeah.
So there's like genuine jokes in it, but at the other times it seems very, very serious as well.
Yeah.
We should mention the way he eats. So basically, people sit on it's like a 4-poster bed with this purple bedspread on it, and like people sit on it, and then some yellow foam comes up, and then they kind of drop in. It's almost like a acid tank or something. Like
when they see things or people getting eaten, usually they have this sort of like close up of them under this yellow water with like bubbles and stuff that they're kind of being eaten away and stuff. And it was kind of an interesting effect, actually. I thought it was, I mean, considering there's obviously no budget here, they, were trying to do some stuff that was probably cost almost nothing, but actually got the effect across, right?
Well, it also made me wonder if Jonathan Glazer, when he directed Under the Skin, had this film at all, because that has very similar effects, right? When the Scarlett Johansson, she says Johansson character takes her victims to that kind of netherworld place where they kind of dissolve. Very similar to the deathbed kind of dissolving scenes, I thought.
Yeah, possible. So I don't know. So what'd you make of this movie?
Well, I'd seen this one before, so I knew what I was getting into this time round.
How did it go on the second watch?
Yeah, no, it is very strange. It is a very, very strange film. Quite fascinating because I'd say it's highly original. I mean, I can't think of anything else quite like it, really.
Yeah, I'll say that. Yeah, that's true.
It's a very, very odd watch, and like a one of a kind, really. I'd forgotten how much of a backstory there was in terms of there's actually because I remembered all the bed stuff, but I'd forgotten that it has like a lore, right? That it has this thing about the demon, and there's even like an attempt to destroy the bed at the end, and I'd forgotten about all that other stuff. So it's quite it's not just, I remembered it more as being more abstract, like there's this bed eats people, fuck it, that's it, in the middle of nowhere, but no, there's actually an attempt to kind of maybe overly so to kind of explain what they're doing there. And I found that quite like it's a very well thought out piece, right? And it is, it's definitely an interesting watch. It's so, the tone of it is so peculiar, and just everything about it is peculiar, really. How did you get on with it as a first watch? Because you didn't know what to expect at all, really, did you?
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, the title sort of sets me up for it, I think, right?
But still, like you said, when you say the title, and half of you know, I can't be that, you know, like.
Yeah. Right. But yeah, I don't know. I went kind of back and forth with this one between being almost hypnotic at
Right.
times and then just being really bored. Right. So I think it was stretched out a little bit too much. There's,
Right.
but again, also, as you mentioned, it was kind of very uneven tonally, right? Where like they're really serious and then they got gags and then, then it's very artsy. So it was, and I thought like there's like certain, especially points when they're kind of leading up to the climax, where like the main characters are actually all going to get eaten. It was so slow. Like there's like 10 minutes of this one character just walking around the room, not doing anything, right? And I was like, just get eaten already, right? So yeah. So and this kind of, I mean, the narrator voice guy, he sort of added to the hypnotic effect a little bit. He has this very kind of kind of measured way of speaking and stuff, which
that's not Dave Marsh's voice, by the way. He was picked up by someone else. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Whatever. But yeah, I don't know. So I kind of went back and forth between like, oh, this is a real curious piece, and being kind of like, wow, like this is really interesting, and like how serious can they take a subject called deathbed, right? The bed it eats, but they really went for it. They really tried to make it like a real thing, like a real piece of art kind of thing, which I don't know if it was necessarily necessary. I think if you were going to watch a movie called Deathbed, the bed that eats, you kind of just want to see a bed that's eating people, right? So but yeah, I don't know. I appreciated them trying something, and as you said, it being like almost aggressively original.
Yeah, I mean the bed scenes are cool. I have to say that the whole concept of just someone just kind of sucked in and like dissolving. That is an arresting image.
I also wonder if what about like the original Nightmare on Elm Street when Johnny Depp gets sucked into the bed too, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And then he gets spat out again, right?
I wonder if that one has any connection to the
like I said, I'm not sure who saw Deathbed really much for years and years and years. Yes, I should mention as well it's got the interesting kind of electronic industrial kind of music as well, and it's got the new credit music is actually by Silob, which is Stephen Thrower and Ocean Brown. The director, when it came out on DVD, he asked them if they could do a new piece of music for and Stephen Thrower does the commentary track with the director as well on the Blu-ray. And it has to be said, it does fit. Like you wouldn't guess that opening music was added later. It seems very much.
Oh, yeah, I didn't realize.
Yeah. So but yeah, I mean, if you seek out offbeat films, I think you owe it to yourself to take a look at Death. It's because like I said, it's hardly anyone saw it for a long time, and I think since its release on DVD 20 years ago, it's slowly kind of accrued a cult following, right? I can see why. Because there's nothing else quite like it. And some of it looks, I mean, some of it looks really good, like some of the framing and like seeing it properly as well now. And I would not on a shitty VHS or something. It's got a bit of you can tell the filmmaker has an eye, right? It's got a kind of it's got a artistic bent to it for sure.
Sure. Yeah. But and good for them for giving it the old college try, I guess, for this one, right? So yeah, I was like, it definitely felt a little long in the tooth most of the time, but I have to say there were definitely moments where I was like, oh, I was impressed by it at points. Like, so I thought as we talked about like the bubbling scenes and like the foam and stuff of that was quite a lot of ingenuity there, I think. So and even though they're kind of simple effects, you have this stuff doesn't get done by itself, and someone has to figure out, like, even simple things like the bed sheets moving by themselves and stuff like that. Someone has to
someone has to do it, right? Like,
yeah, sure,
how
yeah.
simple the effect. Someone has to go to the trouble of putting some hidden wire or something, or
Yeah, and they have to have like the yellow, and then they had the Pepto-Bismol bottle, and they had to have with the
perspective.
string to like make sure it all kind of came out and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So I thought it was quite well done considering. So I mean, I guess Michigan maybe in general. I mean, as you said, also Michigan was Evil Dead right around this
We'll
time,
be
right?
getting to that. Yeah, yeah.
Right. So, but I mean, so maybe Michigan really was a good place for kind of DIY, but like really interesting idea people, right? So
Right. Well, there's another 8 titles coming out of Michigan.
yeah.
Um,
Not so much with I guess not so much with
transplant.
transplant, but I guess that was sort of like I've got a video of a transplant. Let's see what I can do with this. I mean, I guess that in itself is sort of like it's a spark of inspiration. It's nice to be able to see the person's inspiration. I don't know what Deathbed's inspiration was. I'd love to know.
Well, apparently it did some come from a dream, some of it, which makes sense because it does very much have dream logic.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Which that's the other thing that's weird about it, because the kind of the like you said, the contemporary frame is dream logic. So then when you start adding, because there are genuine dream sequences in it as well. Some people have dream sequences and flashbacks, but the thing is already so it's just abstracts even further out into like it's very, very and worth watching. And Transplant less so, because like you said, I got some, and my brother's a lounge singer, and we can get him to perform.
And hey, what else can we do to fill out 70 minutes?
There's a body
you guys paint your bodies, and we'll film you doing that, and do some performance art, and we'll film that, and we'll throw it in there. So
anyway, as we're discovering, it's Michigan. It's a special place. And we'll be here for some more Septic Shock Road Trip Michigan Madness next time. So until then,
end of the road, you Michigan hippies.